Well, I have to say that the government teaching these kids and hypnotizing them and teaching them all this stuff, well, that's definitely and obviously wrong. Um, as for the black market, the baby black market, well, I can't help but think, well, most likely, well, doctors would be involved in this. And then in the hypnotizing kids, doctors would also be involved in this. So, basically is that people who, uh, you know, deal with the baby black market and deal with stealing babies from women, uh, generally have to have some kind of government capacity to create fake birth certificates, to create fake identities, to, you know, have access to certain government files, medical files. So, maybe I just don't think it could just be a regular person just going around doing that. Maybe now it's more like that, but maybe not. I'm not sure about that. Maybe it became that, but I would think that, for it to get so big and for these people to have so much power to take so many kids and to do it with such ease, well, they had to have some kind of power. So obviously, there are people, politicians, people that work in the governments that are involved and in the baby black market, and you know it happens. Criminals, they're not just poor, stealing from, houses. No, some of them are rich too. Well, we know that because we've seen what these gangsters and these gangs and all this, the black market, the drugs and everything. We know what it does. We know there's a lot of money generated. So, I mean, but the baby black market, there's even more money generated. I mean, it's just you're gonna have to sell a lot of drugs, but you're gonna sell one baby, $150,000. You got it made. I mean, and then in the last 20 years, some of those babies became so much bigger prices because, parents wanted what they wanted and they wanted certain types of kids and they were ready to pay for it. So what I'm saying is, well, it would be two different things, the baby black market and the government hypnotizing these kids. Or maybe it isn't. They're hypnotizing these little children. Some of them are really young when they do it. Because they learn really fast when they're really young, especially when they're geniuses. So, I would think that they're kind of separate. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe the people that are involved, in hypnotizing and teaching these kids in Yamawada, well, maybe they are also involved in the baby black market. Who knows? But there's an obvious correlation with certain individuals. I don't know if it was the same thing happening at the same time. I don't know if the same person that was involved in hypnotizing these kids was also involved in the baby black market. I somehow got the impression that these individuals that got close to me in this way had a lot of power and influence and a lot of knowledge and a lot of open doors, I would think. So you have that going on, and mind you, I would think the baby black market was really one of the top things. I mean, I would think that the baby black market is where they make the most money illegally. I mean, you pay a fertility clinic, you're going to pay them, hundreds of thousands of dollars to try and make you have a baby, which is going to be impossible. And any real geneticist knows that. And it's easy to prove. If you inbreed animals to a certain extent, you'll have that result. And, when you do not biopsies, but when you do autopsies, and you notice these things. You notice these animals, they just can't have offspring. They're like trying to put me to sleep like crazy. So this is after that, right? What I was saying is that it's more, it's easier to steal a baby, a small baby, and preemie is the easiest, than to get an infertile woman and a man to have a child. That's just literally impossible. They will never, because they don't have the genes. If you don't have the genes for it, then you can't. It's like the things that it affects, you can get a whole bunch of health problems from the inbreeding. I mean, everybody's got a little bit of inbred blood and a little bit. Not a lot, but the worst off, the worst thing to happen genetically and to even animals, and I've seen this in animals, it was worse for them to have a male or a female who couldn't have offsprings than to have a male or female that was sick or deformed or even had some type of health problem whatsoever. Because if you can't have offsprings, there is no future. The general rule for an animal to survive is just that. So it's really one of the worst things that can happen. That just shows the lack of genes. I mean, because this is what you're doing when you are having kids. You're passing your genes. If you don't have the genes to pass, you won't have babies. Now, sure, there's other problems that you can have. So you can't put them all in the same group. You can never put anybody all in the same group. It's just, you can generalize, but you have to be aware that there's always exceptions. So, basically, it pays more. And these fertility clinics and all these test tube baby clinics, all these places where they say they make babies, they're lying, because you can't do that. I mean, oh my God, it's like, oh, it takes a certain type of person. What is like, how many test tube babies are made, and you can't even find one who'll do it right in front of you? I tried so many times in animals, and what are you talking about? It doesn't work. For some reason, there has to be some kind of interaction between the two. I don't know what it is, and that's why they say, oh, it's chemicals or whatever. I don't know, but that's just, it's the worst thing. So, all these clinics, they would have just shut down completely. They wouldn't have survived, like, not even a year if they couldn't have found babies for these parents who wanted babies. And ergo, the baby black market. Ergo, all these medications to get preemies to be born smaller, but, with developed lungs and brains. Just made it easier and easier in the 70s and in the 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s. It just became so easy in the 90s. It's like, some of them would say 4 months, and I'm like, that's impossible, but some of these doctors who have these medications, who know these medications, probably work in these fields. I don't really trust any of them. These fertility doctors, these people who say they specialize in that, it's bullshit. If you don't have the genes to make a kid, that just won't work. And if one person doesn't have them, they're not going to make babies together. He doesn't have genes, or she doesn't have genes. She can't give genes. So whatever she gives are going to be completely sick or deformed, or, it's not going to work. They're going to die like babies, really young and sick and deformed, or they just won't be able to carry them to term. I mean, and that is even worse in some cases for some of these women. Because here they're still trying, and then they actually do, and then they end up having a sick baby that just dies on them within months or weeks or days, or It's you just can't. If you don't have genes to pass on, you can't make a child. Now, certain parents have just enough genes to create, but not enough genes for the next generation to be able to create. That happens. That's what happens a bit with you inbreed the animals. At one point, that's what happens. And they start having less and less and less babies, too. It's like you have animals who usually have, like, huge batches, and no, not now, not anymore. We're not being bred badly. I'm sorry to say that that's what happened with our society. First, the rich. And it started with the rich, generally. Some poor people did, but it started really a lot with the rich. With the attitude that their genes were better, being shared amongst themselves. But they have the same genes. You have the same genes, so how are you going to create a life that's going to have enough genes to be able to give some away, because they're just going to end up having all the same genes? It's logical. It really doesn't take that much of a genius to figure it out.